I'm sitting in my desk one morning, 8 o'clock, and the phone rings. Pick it up, Myron Radio, and on the other end I hear, Myron, Robert, I need some help. Now let me give you the background before I continue the story. One of my largest clients is a construction firm, general contractor, and they are big. Probably $5 billion, but they're growing by leaps and bounds. About 5 years before, Robert was in the organization. This is a privately held firm, and the owners ran it in a traditional kind of like construction mode. And they knew that that was not going to be good enough if they really wanted to take the company to where they wanted it, and they had to make a change. So they reached down in the organization and they grabbed Robert and said, you are now the president, and shortly you will become the CEO of this company because we need you to take us to the next level. At the time, he was late 30s to early 40s. So I mean, think about this. This is a risk from a company being run by 70-year-olds to somebody like Robert. One of the first things he did was he looked around, he said, resources, human resources are key to our success. And we don't have people developed who can lead this company 5 years from now. So they looked in their organization, they picked out 11 people that they were willing to bet big bucks on. And they said, we're going to put them through an accelerated leadership development program. And I was lucky enough to get a call through a referral to work with those 11 people on a coaching basis and to do live 360s, an interview-based 360, to set the expectation of where are they and what's it going to take for them to get to the next level. Here's the commitment Robert made to them. You make it through this program, and within 5 years, you're going to be running a major piece of this organization. Back to the story. I said, Robert, what's going on? He said, look. He said, you know that our longtime chief operating officer elected to retire. And you also know that I picked one of the guys that you coached 5 years ago to be the next chief operating officer of this company. And here's my issue, my challenge. The last COO and I, we were like hand in glove. We'd sit in a meeting, an issue would come up, and I'd look at him, and he'd look at me, and without a word passing, I knew what he was going to do, he knew what I was going to do. But the other thing is, if we walked into a meeting with a difference of opinion, we could argue about it respectfully with each other and then always pick what was best for the company. He had my back, I had his, but more importantly, I was a confidant of his and he was a confidant of mine. And I lost my buddy because the two of us have to take this company to the next level, had to, and now one of us is gone. So I reached in and I picked Chuck. Brilliant guy. He's been tested in fire. We've had construction projects over $1 billion going sideways. We drop Chuck in and he brings it back on stream. So we had to reward that and wanted to reward it because he's brilliant. So we brought him on as the chief operating officer, but I don't have rapport with him. I know him, but I don't know him. I don't know what makes him tick. I don't know what's important to him. I don't know what he brings to the table versus what I bring to the table. You got to help us by accelerating that rapport. So I said to Robert, you know we've been coaching people in your organization for 5 years. And one of the tools we use is a talent insight assessment. I need you to take the assessment. And when you do, you're going to get a report. It's going to be this thick. Don't even read it. Because I'm going to take your data and put it together on a combined report, And I want 30 minutes of your time, you and Chuck, together in a room where I'm going to explain the high-level implications of both of your data. So where are you alike? Where are you different? How do you leverage one another? And where can you get yourself in trouble? And when do you need other people to lend their perspective, or you're going to mess up? He said, I'll take it today. Fast forward about 2 weeks, I walk into the conference room for our 30-minute debriefing. Robert's not there. Chuck tells me we were just in a meeting, another billion-dollar project just went sideways. The leaders on the project couldn't handle it. And so the developers came in here. And right now they're attacking Robert. So Robert walks in about 15 minutes late, and usually this guy's affable, and he walks in and there's a cloud over his head. And he sits down and he says, let's get started. So I handed out their reports, start going through the key pages, the charts and graphs. And I gave them the implication of the data that I was looking at. And after each page, I said, Robert, do you have any questions? No. Keep going. So I get through this whole, 30 minutes, 20 minutes later, we're through this in record time. I said, any questions on all of this? He said, no questions. I have a statement. Number one, I want every member of my executive team to take this assessment and sit with you or one of your team for a one-on-one debrief. Number two, I want you to come in at a future executive team meeting, and I want you got 90 minutes to talk to us with the data the way you talk to Chuck and I right now, no holes barred. You told us exactly what we needed to hear, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so that we can figure out how do we deal with the people we got working for us, and how do we develop them in a hurry because we need them on projects. Can you do that? I said, yes. I said, Robert, if you like, I have 2 other sheets of paper I'd love to be able to show you. I need another 15 minutes. I think it will change your whole perception of your workforce. He said, go. Show you what I showed him. Before I do, and before I showed him the sheet of paper, I said to him, Robert, how would you describe the top 85 best leaders you got working in this company right now out of, 1,500 full-time employees? How would you describe the top 85? He said, easy. We're all type A personalities. I said, oh, well, how would you describe that? What does that mean? He said, well, you know that chart you had, that wheel chart you called it? I said, yeah. He said, all of us, upper right-hand corner, red. You call them drivers. That's where we all are. I said, isn't that interesting? And I flipped the sheet. This is what the sheet looked like. So Robert's looking at this and he goes, oh my God, we're all over the block. I said, right. He said, is this good or bad? I said, this is outstanding. He said, outstanding, why? I said, Robert, look at this. You're leveraging the diversity of your top leaders. You're allowing them to be them. And if you can use this data to start to pick people to put on the project, not based on what the project has to produce, but the situation around the project. Who are they going to have to interact with? What are the major challenges? Now you're going to stream your project. So he sits back and he goes, whoa. I said, I'm not done. I said, let me show you another chart. I said, these are the driving forces. He says, wow, that's pretty busy. I said, right. I said, 85 people. Now, you got to understand, there are some people in there that are not your top leaders, because these are everybody we've been coaching. So we've had to coach some up. But I said, look at this. I showed them this chart. I said, four of these driving forces jump out. So if you're hiring anybody that doesn't have these four, they're not going to stay with you. They're going to fail in the job because they're not driven in the way you need them to be driven. So I said, look, number one, the power motive over there. And we get these assessments from a behavior research firm. The language they use stinks for business. They call this commanding, and the opposite is collaborative. What would you rather have? People who are commanding or collaborative? He said, collaborative. I said, right, that's not what they're measuring. Commanding are the kind of people that are born with the need to lead. They're driven to lead. Doesn't mean they're good leaders, but they're driven to step up and take command of a situation. That's what you're looking for with your projects. I said, number two, function over form. These people, the label is objective. With these people, think about what you do. You hire people on the college campus. You take them out to a job site, you put them in a trailer where they're digging and everything's dusty and dirty and everything, and they got to work there pounding data. So if you have somebody that thinks they're going to work in a corporate office, they're going to leave you, right? But here's the other thing. These people that are objective, they thrive on chaos. Thrive on chaos. Something goes sideways, they're naturally driven to jump in and get it fixed. Naturally driven. So he goes, well, every time, we don't build cookie-cutter buildings. We don't do banks and fast food restaurants and car dealerships. We do these iconic buildings that nobody's ever built before. Something's always going sideways. I said, right. That's why these people are your top leaders. Now, go to the upper right-hand corner. These people are driven to get results. Your people don't work 8 to 5. Sometimes they work 14-hour days. And not only that, sometimes they got to work the weekend to get the project done on time and within budget. That absolutely must happen. On time and within budget. Must happen. They could do all the other nice things in the world. If they don't make the budget and they don't get it done on time, well, they're out of luck. Right? These people, the results-oriented people, they find a way. These are the find-a-way people. They can't not find a way because they're driven to find a way. They're driven to get the results. And then last one, the service orientation. Now, you're not hiring people on the other end of this chart that are altruistic. You don't have a mission here, an association, or a medical community where they got to serve people because they're people. You're a for-profit organization. So your people are very intentional. With your people serving their clients, they have to have 3 questions answered. 3. Number 1, client, what do you want? Number 2, client, why is it important? And number 3, client, what do you want from me? And if the client can answer those 3 things, these people are all in. So this is a profile right now with these 4 of people who are 24/7. So even though they're doing other things, they may be with their family in the background, the job is always there. How do I get it done on time and within budget? Always there. And they all carry journals. Because as the ideas pop out, they jot them down, they draw them up, so they can act on them when they get back to work. I said, Robert, does this make sense? He said, nobody's ever explained this stuff this way. He said, have you given these to HR? And I went, to take a deep breath, and he said, "Don't answer that. I know the answer. You did, and they didn't know what to do with this." I said, "Right." He said, "We just made an announcement today. We took another guy out of the field, wonderful operator. We want to place big bets on the guy. We just promoted him to a senior vice president of talent. You will be getting a call from him before the afternoon is over. Because he needs to be, or you need to be, his best buddy and show him how to use this stuff on the college campuses." I said, "Tell me, what's going on?" He said, "We have to hire a lot of people. Everybody's after the same resources. We got to hire them. I mean, the market is so hot. Everybody wants what we want. So we go to the best and brightest schools. We don't have to check their technical skills. And we try to convince them to come with us." I said, "What else do you do?" He said, "No, that's it." I said, "There's your fallacy. You're not even checking whether they fit within your organization, and you're not even checking whether you fit with their idea of what success looks like. So after 3 years, they're going to leave." He said, "Yeah, at a rate of 30%. 30% turnover after 3 years. So they're having to overhire to compensate for the 30% that's leaving." So I wanted to show you, this is an example of mining the data that you already have. Anybody working with a client, you got a ton of data out there. If you proactively pull these kind of charts together, take them with you and talk to your clients about it, you're going to start opening some eyes. Now, that's the first point, data mining. Let me share with you the second point. You are not in the business of selling assessments. You are not. You provide professional services. You serve, you don't sell. And if you serve, the sales just come pouring in, and so do the referrals, because you're interested in your clients. So let me show you the food chain. Let me show you the food chain for a professional services organization. Everything starts with a product. Your product is an assessment, right? But there are hundreds of these assessments in the marketplace. So at the lowest level, you're going to be competing, and me too. You got to find something to do with that assessment that adds a service to it that increases the value to the client. Now let me tell you about TTI assessments. Anybody from TTI in the room? Because you're about to get very upset with me. TTI is a behavior research firm, the byproduct of which is assessments. Do they sell them? Do they make a lot of money there? Does it fund their research? Yes. But at their heart, it's about research. So when they give you a report, they're giving you tons of content. As a professional service provider, you have to bring this content to your clients and give them context. What does it mean? Content is not king any longer. It's all around context. I know most of you are this way, so we as a community never just give people an assessments, because it ends up in the garbage can or in a drawer and they never look at it. We always do a debrief with it, always. Right? That's a service that we provide that gets us to the next level. As you're providing this service to people, because the information you're sharing with them is so rich and so real, they see you as their trusted advisor. So they come to you when they're trying to figure something out. They know what they want to do, they just don't know the how to do it, so they check with you. Trusted advisor. Guess what happens to not only your revenue, but your business at each one of these levels keeps expanding, right? But here's the holy grail. If you could get to a strategic partner relationship with your client, this is where they don't have a clue as to what the strategy is. They just know that what they have is not working. And they call you and say, come in and help us figure it out. Now you're golden. Because you're adding so much value, they see you as an extension of their staff. You with me? Okay. Now, with this particular client, let me show you the instruments we used. So the first thing is a talent insight assessment, and this is the complimentary copy of the report. We never gave it to this client. We gave it to somebody else, and he was so impressed with this that he started telling other people about it, including this client, which caused them to call me 5 years ago. Understand, somebody we trust, he was a trusted advisor to them, right? That we needed to talk to you and get you and your team involved. So what we then did was always use the talent insight assessment, but then this comparative report that they came out with, about a year ago? That thing is incredible, because you can now place two people side by side and talk about the relevance. Where are you together? Where are you different? What do you have to watch out for? What are you missing? And it's clear to them. The other thing you have is the new team reports that came out. Now, let me give you, okay, TTI, go like this, right? A team report, the one thing you can't do, you got to get it. Don't ever show it to your client. It's overwhelming with the colors and the charts and the graphs and going through every permeation that you could possibly have. But you, as a professional service professional, need that information. And you could take pieces of that information and pull it out and add context to the content and then give it to your client in a way that your client can accept it. You with me? Okay. So here's an example timeline on this particular client. We started in 2012. Complimentary Trimetrics HD to somebody not even part of the client. With those first 11 people, we used Trimetrics. Let me tell you, overkill. When they got to the acumen, their eyes are rolling in the back of their head. When they saw the dimensional balance page, like they almost went face down. It would look like a refinery. They couldn't get their head wrapped. These guys have day jobs. Do you need that information? Depends on the situation. Yes. So like when we're working with if you look at 2016, it's the fourth line down. They brought us in to work with distressed executives. That means that we, my team and I, we're the last chance to make a change or they're about to get fired. We need the Trimetrics assessment for that. Because not only do we need to know about their style and about their drivers, we need to know where their head and their guts are. And that's what the dimensional balance sheet shows us. But there's something else. If we can make a change, about a year later, we go back and give them that assessment again, now you have scientific data that shows the difference and the improvement. Scientific data, not, incidental data, not a gut feeling. Oh, I think they're doing better. No, you got data. And that endears you to the client as well. So what we did is after 2012, we went to The trimetrics assessment, we got a ton of other consultative engagements, facilitate workshops, et cetera, on some of their biggest projects. We were named their preferred provider for coaching. So that means in their whole company, we're the first choice. Now, it doesn't mean they won't take other coaches, but they like the results we're getting. And if you look at the third column, you can see the results, because we talked about what we got. Now look at the first line. I got a call from an executive on the West Coast who worked for this company. And he said, hey, Myron, I don't know if you know this or not, but when we put together that accelerated leadership development program and they told us that they were going to have coaching for these people, I said, that's a bunch of crap. Coaching doesn't work, and I don't want it. And I said, well, what happened? He said, I was escorted out of the room and told to sit down and be quiet. I didn't know what I was talking about. And he said, so I've been watching you. He said, let me tell you what I saw. I saw a chunk of people going through the motions. You know, maybe 40%. I saw about 40% of the people listening to the advice that you and your coaches were giving them and applying the advice. And I could see the change. About 20% of the people were literally transformed. And we see that transformation because they matured as executives. So he said, I want to talk to you right now about two people, and anything less than transformational is unacceptable. So you can see how this builds out, but you can also see how it starts with a product, you add service to it, then you become a trusted advisor, then you step over to a strategic partner. And what a great place to be for you and for them.